What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. Let's get straight to the point. Talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. Okay, today we have Ivan from one of Russian cities called Orel. And long story short, this, according to the story on the internet, this is just like a single guy. He works as the electrician. So he decided to buy himself a puppy, so it's not that lonely when he comes home, right? But well, he has to go to work, and the puppy is all alone at home. The guy decided to buy these clocks with a camera to kinda maintain an eye on his dog, to see if the dog is not ruining the carpet, not ruining the couch, like typical stuff what dogs do, right? Well, later on, whenever this camera was no longer needed, he decided to sell it to make a little bit of money back, right? And so the buyers of these clocks with internal camera were the FSB people, basically modern KGB. They arrested the guy and they said that he was dealing the spy equipment without proper approval from the authorities, from the government. I mean, you cannot sell hidden cameras unless you have a specifically written agreement from the FSB, or I have no idea where else you should get such an agreement. And I mean, imagine the entire FSB saw this guy, they analyzed his marketplace advertisement, they researched this particular clock, they saw that there was an internal camera. This qualifies as a spyware, so they created the entire raid, they detained the guy, put him in like the detention center, whatever it's called in English, and then they were interrogating him. Well, another severe criminal is caught, the Russian justice system prevails, FSB, or probably Adam Kadyrov, received a medal for detaining such a high-rise criminal. This is a total clownship, so let's move on. And now let me give you a brief update from the south of Ukraine, where the entire Mother Nature decided to push Russians out of Kherson region. But first of all is the stop on Crimean Peninsula, because as you can see there is this satellite image of one of the military units of Russians in Crimea. Well, apparently Ukrainians were able to find it and successfully destroy it. Next is the video from the security services of Ukraine in combination with the Ukrainian Navy, and they are using their naval drones in Lake Donetsk, also in Crimea. And basically they were able to destroy several extremely important military pieces of equipment of Russians, specifically electrical substation, technical facilities, enemy firing positions, headquarters even with a control point, and ammunition and equipment warehouse. This is not the very first and obviously not the very last time Ukrainians are using naval drones to attack the Russian fleet, and already it forced Russian Navy to completely withdraw all of its CO, all of its vessels from important bases, such as for example from Sevastopol, and they went all the way to Novorossiysk. But if you remember, Ukrainians already developed a long-range naval drone called Sea Baby, which already was showing its successful work in action previously. And so Ukrainians are saying that, well, since we're able to reach military targets all the way to the south of Crimea, all the way on the other side of Crimean Peninsula, well, Novorossiysk, it will just take a little bit longer time, but we will find you there as well. Because reportedly the range for such drones is no less than 1200 kilometers. But probably yes, the most significant thing which happened to Russians in the south of Ukraine, at least in the last week or two, is that right now in Ukraine there is a severe heat wave, and a lot of regions, for example Kherson, well, a lot of wildfires they begin. So Russians, they were pretty much not that much activities happening right now in the south of Ukraine, so they were just being on their positions to the left side of Kherson region across Dnipro river. And well, either due to spontaneous smoking or self-ignition, or just Russian soldiers consuming a lot of vodka, or just literally out of nowhere, the Mother Nature started pushing Russians out of their positions in Kherson region. As you can see from this video, already big wildfires started to spread extremely quickly, while Russians had to collect whatever they could and run as far as possible. As a result of this, several military vehicles were left abandoned there. I guess they did not find the keys on time or something like this. And well, literally, Mother Nature even does not want Russians on Ukrainian soil. Right, now let me give you a brief update from the east of Ukraine, and we have a very important another thing which happened because Russians decided to withdraw from many front lines along Donetsk region and do, I would say, probably the most stupid thing possible, literally the unthinkable thing. But first of all is the quick video from the territory of Russia, specifically from Yekaterinburg, where we can see a local Ural Transmash factory which was producing military equipment for the Z army, including self-propelled artillery systems Msta-S. Well, it spontaneously got caught on fire. Next is the video from Perm, also located on the territory of Russia. And long story short, representatives of the Freedom of Russia Legion, they did a sabotage activity and burned several units of military equipment of the Russians. As we now move to the territory of Ukraine, first of all, unfortunately, is the most recent video from Vovchansk. Well, once again, the city is at this point non-existent. Also along Kharkov front lines, right here is the video of a Ukrainian FPV drone destroying a Russian self-propelled artillery system called Tulpan. Next, also Kharkov region, Russians decided to camouflage their T-90M modern tank, and if you remember from my previous video, more than 100 of such machines Russians already lost. Well, add another one, because Ukrainians used FPV drone, $1,000, and destroyed a tank worth of millions of dollars. Another video is from Liptsi Hluboki, and this is one of the most recent developments of the Z army self-propelled howitzer called 2S-43 Malva. Well, it did not exist for a very long time in Ukraine because the Ukrainian FPV drone annihilated it as well. Next is the video from Luhansk region, and it basically shows us that the Z army should no longer be afraid of just Ukrainians, they should be afraid of themselves. Because long story short, the Z army was returning from the front lines or something like this. The date is very confusing, but that's not important. What is important? Russians were returning literally using their own roads. They forgot about the underground surprises, and while the entire convoy it lost several military vehicles. Besides that, in occupied Makivka, Donetsk region, Ukrainians were able to destroy several military trucks carrying Russian Z army equipment. And just in the last 24 hours, Ukrainian armed forces were able to repel a total of 10 different Russian attempts against settlement of Spirne, Verkhnokamenska, Razdolivka and Vyimovka. But yes, just like mentioned in the beginning of this chapter, Russians started to withdraw big chunks of their forces from multiple front lines across Donetsk and Novoazovsk front lines, and they started to bring these forces to the south, specifically to Zaporozhye, where according to Ukrainian intelligence, this is where they assemble and concentrate right now, which allows us to assume that potentially Russians would want to resume their offensive in Zaporozhye in the near future, which to be honest is a very ridiculous thing to do, it is an unthinkable thing to do. I mean, at this very moment they cannot achieve any significant progress, so going to the south, where Ukrainians are already deeply entrenched, where Ukrainians were building fortifications for the last several months, and then trying to attack there, well, to say the least, the chances of success are close to zero. It's not like that the Z-Commandment cares. It's not like they're gonna stop their meat assaults. Most likely some higher commandment told them just go to the south, we need to report some good things to Putin that we're attacking across different front lines. We don't care, just do what you are told to do, report to us back when it's done, and well, let's hope something will come out of this. And ultimately, just last couple of words about one of Russian army deserters, who decided that some of his comrades, they should be put to an eternal sleep. So guys, let's talk about this on my Patreon. This is an extra chapter. This is me saying thank you for your support, so if you want to continue watching and see this episode fully uncensored, it is on my Patreon as always, the link is down below. Thanks so much, the best way to support the channel right now. Well, there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel if this was interesting, informative for both. Other useful links are down below: PayPal donations, Instagram, Patreon. If you missed my previous day update, it's gonna appear to my left. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow.